This video is about solving one-step equations. So we're going to solve each of these equations. The ultimate goal is to get x or y, any variable, on one side of the equal sign all by itself. So in this first one, we have x plus 4 equals 18. I'm just going to draw a line down to the equal sign. And I have plus 4 on the same side as x. So my goal is to get rid of that plus 4 by moving it to the other side. To move something to the other side of the equal sign, you have to do the opposite operation. So opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. But if we just subtract 4 from one side of the equal sign, it won't keep the two sides balanced. That equal sign means that the two sides are equal to each other. So anything we do to one side, we have to do to the other side of the equal sign in order to keep the two sides balanced. So I have 4 minus 4, which is 0. I'm going to bring down my x, bring down the equal sign, and 18 minus 4 leaves me with 14. So I know x is equal to 14. All right, over here, I have negative 9 plus y is equal to 14. Again, I want y on one side of the equal sign all by itself. So I drew a line down to the equal sign because, as I said before, anything you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side. So I find my variable, and I want to get rid of what's on the same side same side of the equal sign as the variable. I have a negative 9. Opposite of negative 9 is positive 9, or plus 9. So I'm going to do the opposite operation to both sides of the equal sign. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0. That's how I was able to get it to go away. So now I have y all by itself is equal to 14 plus 9 leaves me with 23. A way that I can double check myself and see that I actually got it correct was I can just plug what y is equal to back into the equation and see if the two sides are actually equal. So I'm just going to show that to you over here. So I had negative 9 plus, well, I said y is 23. And that should equal to 14. So I'm just going to simplify this side. So negative 9 plus 23 is 14. And because the two sides are equal, I know I got the correct answer. So you can always double check your work. All right, here are a couple of problems for you to try. Go ahead and try them out and come on back when you're ready for the answers. All right, for the first one, I'm going to add 8 to both sides of the equal sign to get x by itself. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0. Bring down x is equal to 3 plus 8 leaves me with 11. So x equals 11. All right, on number 2, we have m plus 5. I want to get rid of the plus 5. Opposite operation is minus 5 to both sides of the equal sign. 5 minus 5 is 0. So I'm left with m is equal to 12 minus 5 leaves me with 7. All right, so this is all adding and subtracting one-step equations. So we're going to move on to multiplying and dividing one-step equations. So it's just a little more difficult, not too much. All right, so remember, anytime you have a number right next to a variable, it means they're multiplied together. So this is read as 2 times x is equal to negative 14. Again, we want the variable by itself, and we're going to do the opposite operation to both sides of the equal sign to get rid of what's on the same side as x. So x is currently being multiplied by 2. Opposite operation of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 2, but anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm left with 1x, which is just x, is equal to negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. And again, you can plug this back in, double check. 2 times x, well, x is negative 7. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Well, the two sides are equal. All right, this one's a little more tricky. I have 1/2 times y. is equal to 5. So opposite operation of multiplying y by 1/2 is dividing by 1/2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2. Oops. All right, but dividing by 1/2, don't we do keep it, change it, flip it? So keep the first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction over. So, well, that's a little more tricky. So I'm going to teach you the trick. So I'm going to go back to the original problem. 1/2 times y is equal to 5. So anytime you're multiplying your variable by a fraction, all you have to do is multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. That means the fraction flipped over. And I'll show you why. So we have 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Over here, we can just put a 1 below the 5 if we want to. 5 times 2 is 10, and 1 times 1 is 1. All right, I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to bring my problem up here. All right, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So here we currently have 1y, which we just write as y, is equal to 10 divided by 1 is 10. So I have y equals 10. So all I have to do when I multiply my variable, or my variable is multiplied by a fraction, is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. It will reduce it to 1, so we're left with our 1y. Okay, and you can always plug it back in, double check. We know y is 10. 1/2 times 10 is 5. Well, it does equal 5, so we got it correct. All right, here we have x divided by 3 equals 4. Bring that line down to the equal sign, something that I forgot to do over here. All right, x is currently being divided by 3. Opposite operation of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply x times 3. So the x value is multiplied by 3. But anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. Think of this as 3 divided by 3 because it's x that's being multiplied by 3 here. So I have 3 times x divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with 1x, or just x, equals 4 times 3 is 12. Right, again, you can plug it back in. 12 divided by 3 is 4, which, yes, it does equal 4. All right, negative 2/3 times z equals negative 9. Again, to get the variable by itself, when it's being multiplied by a fraction, we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. But it's not only being multiplied by a fraction, it's being multiplied by a negative fraction. So we have to multiply this by the negative reciprocal. So negative 3 over 2. All right, so I have a negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 2 is 6 over 2 times 3 is 6. I have a z equals, all right, I can just put a 1 below this 9. All right, I know a negative times a negative will be a positive. 9 times 3 is 27 over 1 times 2 is 2. Right, 6 divided by 6 is 1. So I have 1z, which I can just write as z, equals, all right, I have 27 halves. I can reduce this, and I know that I have 13 and 1/2. Because remember, we can take, how many times does 2 go into 27? Well, it goes into 26 13 times. Now I'm left over with 1/2. All right, so here are some problems for you to try. Go and try them out. Come back when you're ready for the answers. All right, we have negative 5 times n. The opposite of multiplying by n is n by negative 5 is dividing by negative 5. Anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1. So I'm left with n equals negative 40, or positive 45 divided by negative 5 is negative 9. All right, here we're multiplying x by negative 3/5. So we're going to multiply it by negative 5/3, the reciprocal. Okay, I know that these cancel out and it will be x equals, because I can do cross simplification. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I'm left with my 1x. So I can cross simplify. Over makes 6 over 1. I know a positive times a negative will be a negative. All right, so I have 6 times 5 is 30. Over 1 times 3 is 3. So I can reduce this to x equals negative 10. All right, and number 5. X is being divided by 2, but it is negative. I have to get rid of that negative. I can't leave it as negative x, because I do want x all by itself. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 2. So the x is being multiplied by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1. So I have x equals 13 times negative 2 is negative 26. So be careful when you're dealing with the negative values. You need to make sure that you get x, positive x, by itself. All right. Here, c is being multiplied by 1/4. So we're going to multiply it by the reciprocal, 4 over 1. Okay, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So I'm left with 1c, or just c, equals, all right, I have a whole number here. I don't need to treat this as a fraction. 4 over 1 is the same thing as 4. So I'm just going to say negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. All right, hopefully you were able to solve all of the one-step equations.